What's going on, shifters? CW Marco here again with another review here on Shiftin Stories. And today, I got something very special for y'all. This is going to be the very first anime review, and I'm excited to bring you uh-oh, uh-oh, Cowboy Bebop. Yes, this is Cowboy Bebop, and we will be doing the first anime review of Cowboy Bebop. As always, I do have a few items that actually came off the Bebop when it crash landed a few years ago. I don't know if y'all heard the news, but the Bebop crash landed, and we were able to recover some items off the ship. So we were able to find Spike Spiegel's rose that was supposed to be given to his love, Julia. No spoilers there. We also found Spike Spiegel's obligatory pack of Newports these are actually unopened. These belong to Spike Spiegel. He never smoked them, so this might go for some money, actually. Next up, we have Ein's. We have Ein's Dog Bowl. It used to be blue, but the discoloration, the nice finish wore off. But this is Ein's Dog Bowl. We also have, some of you might recognize Faye Valentine's left boot. We recovered this from the Bebop when it crash landed, quite a few years ago. Probably worth some money right here. We couldn't find her right boot, but we have Faye Valentine's left boot right here. And of course, we do have the sponsored by me and only me. This is my own book here. This is Harmony and Chaos, 6 years in the making, about a group of mercenaries with the main character being this crazy Russian lady. Harmony and Chaos, check it out. Barnes and Noble, Amazon. All right, let us get started with the review of Cowboy Bebop. So, the way we'll do this review is we'll break it down into 3 parts. First will be an overview of the anime. Second part will be a summary of the anime. And the third part will be the philosophy behind the anime. So I'm really big into philosophy, and I'm really big into finding the deeper meanings into the things we read and the things we watch. So here we go. Cowboy Bebop, classic anime. So Cowboy Bebop came out in 1998. This is pre-2000s anime. And in my opinion, it is one of the animes that really made the overall genre of anime more palatable or more serious for the American market. Cowboy Bebop is one of those animes where non-anime people started to take anime seriously, and it wasn't just cutesy Pokemon, little cute characters. So Cowboy Bebop is one of those animes that an American audience started to be like, well, let's take a second look at anime, and maybe it's not just about, little cute characters and all that. So Cowboy Bebop, we have a group of drifters, a group of bounty hunters, and they are all kind of stuck together. They all come together and as a group of, I don't know, they kind of start off as like co-workers, And as the show goes on, they develop, a more lasting relationship. But we follow this group. We follow Spike Spiegel. We follow Jet Black, Faye Valentine, Ed, and of course, the little doggy, Ein. I think Ein's a Yorkie. Yeah. So we follow this group, and the anime is very episodic, and each episode kind of has its own little storyline, but overall we follow kind of Spike's backstory and Spike's past and kind of his how he came to be. And so going into the summary of Cowboy Bebop, I want to be careful with spoilers, but not really. And so, summary of Cowboy Bebop. We have Spike Spiegel, who is pretty much the main character, and we're going through different missions as these bounty hunters are just trying to make a living through collecting bounties. And so really what we have is a bunch of bounty hunters, and they're trying to make a living, they're taking down bounties, and they're trying to make some money, and they're trying to find the meal for the next day, they're trying to pay for their expenses, they're trying to take care of the ship, and it's just kind of like this fun back and forth. And what's really kind of wholesome about Cowboy Bebop is you have like this realistic portrayal of characters that kind of feel real, and they don't feel like fictional characters, It's like, wow, we're watching the story about a bunch of people that have to pay bills, and they have to pay rent, and they have to do all these things. So it's kind of interesting to kind of see that. But we kind of follow Spike, and then so it starts off with Spike and Jet, right? The first few episodes, Spike and Jet, and we see their relationship, and they kind of take their bounties, and we kind of see how cool Spike is. We kind of see how he has like this nonchalant kind of real cool like vibe to him, and it's very catchy, and it's very kind of memorable. And then later on we're introduced to Faye Valentine, who Faye Valentine is, I would argue that Faye Valentine is one of the strongest female characters in an anime. And what I like about Faye Valentine is she's not fan service. And I don't know what y'all think in the comments, but I would argue that Faye Valentine is not a fan service character, and she is very much her own woman, and she very much has her own like mannerisms, she has her own weaknesses, she has her own strengths, she has her own personality, she has her own character, and she has her own story too. So Faye Valentine has like this very cool sex appeal, and like her sex appeal is her own personality, and you can tell that she was made not to like be a fan service kind of character. She's her own thing, she's her own entity, and she's vulnerable, and she's her own person. So Faye Valentine feels like a real person. She feels like a real woman, you know what I mean? And the same way that Spike Spiegel feels like a real person, and he feels like a real guy that's kind of going through his issues, hiding his problems. And it's the same thing with Jet Black. Jet Black feels like a real character. He feels believable. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about Cowboy Bebop is the characters, they feel real. The characters feel real. And I think that's one thing that particularly an American audience kind of appreciates, where we're dealing with people. We're dealing with actual people in this story, and it's really cool. So there is a plot that eventually happens in the anime, and we come to find out that there's this pretty badass guy named Vicious, and Vicious is like the antagonist to Spike Spiegel. And spoilers, but Spike Spiegel and Vicious used to be buddies. They used to be part of like the mafia, like the Japanese Yakuza, yeah, the Yakuza together. Like they used to be like real buddy. They used to be like real tight, ride or die dudes. And they had a falling apart, and that falling apart has a little bit something to do with Julia. And so that's kind of like Spike's backstory, and that's like the main story is also Spike's backstory, which is kind of cool. And so that's kind of the overall story, the overall feel of Cowboy Bebop. And I also want to bring in the music. So the music of Cowboy Bebop is amazing. I mean, and it's so stylistic. And so what people really appreciate about Cowboy Bebop is the style, the swag, just like the vibe. It's very jazz heavy. I mean, in the title itself, bebop is like a fast style of jazz music. And so all throughout the anime, it's very jazzy, it's very musical, and it has like this spaghetti western kind of style to it, even though it's a space opera. And so the producer or the creator, Watanabe, he really just like integrated so many different like cultural elements and stylistic elements and kind of put them together into this really epic anime. And so that's where Cowboy Bebop has its charm, right? That Cowboy Bebop's charm comes from the combination of all those really cool and fun elements. So yeah, that's kind of the summary of Cowboy Bebop. And I really want to get into this last piece, the philosophical element, because the philosophical element is also what's really cool. And I would say there's a few kind of key philosophical elements that I've noticed. One of them, I think the big one, is escapism. And so escapism is the idea that somebody is always trying to escape their past, their issues, or they're trying to discover something new by escaping their past or escaping their present. And so escapism is a really big deal because Spike joined Bebop and joined Jet because he's trying to escape from his mafioso past, and he doesn't want to deal with the demons of Vicious and Julia and all that stuff. And then Jet is escaping from his own past and his own lady in his little story, and Jet gets his own little episode too, which is really cool. And Jet used to be like a former like detective in this whole galaxy thing, and so that's really awesome. And then Faye is a little bit different though, because Faye really isn't trying to escape. Faye's trying to find a home. Well, I guess Faye is trying to escape like her debtors. So like she's in debt and she's like a gambler and she's always like trying to get, she's like a finesser, you know? She's a con artist. And so she's always trying to escape somebody. But like on a deeper level, Faye's really trying to find a home because her whole life, she's never had a stable home. And her backstory is really cool. She was like this cryogenic person and she was frozen for like 100 and something years. So she's really like this old lady. And so she has a couple of episodes where, you know, you can really get her backstory. So Faye is kind of special where she's trying to find a home. She's trying to find somewhere where she can belong, you know? And then Ed kind of has that same story as Faye a little bit, where Ed is trying to find somewhere where she belongs. And because Faye is, Ed is like this, I think he's like adopted or something, I don't know, something like that. But Ed is also trying to find a place to belong. Spike also brings other elements of fatalism, where there's moments in Spike's character where he's kind of too nonchalant and he's too risky and he takes too many risks, and he has these other elements of like nihilism too, where he's just like, F it, I'm gonna go for it, you know, I'm gonna do it, and it doesn't need to have any kind of meaning to it, and it doesn't need to have anything sort of special. He's just gonna go with the flow, whatever happens. And so that's kind of like Spike's, his outlook on life is kind of like this be one with water, kind of like this Bruce Lee, this ebb and flow, this like smooth kind of guy where whatever happens, and he's just that kind of cool guy. But that coolness comes to bite him in the ass later on in the anime.
Look at my eyes, Faye. One of them is a fake because I lost it in an accident. Since then, I've been seeing the past in one eye and the present in the other. Never the whole picture.
You never told me anything about yourself. So don't tell me now. And now you're leaving, just like that. Why do you have to go? Where are you going? What are you going to do? Just throw your life away like it was nothing?
I'm not going there to die. I'm going to find out if I'm really alive. I have to do it, Faye.
And so yeah, guys, I just really wanted to touch on Cowboy Bebop and its importance and what it means to anime overall. And so again, thank y'all for being here on this episode of Shiftin Stories, and hope to see you next time, and keep on shifting, baby.